Welcome into the Dead Arm Sports Podcast. Josh and Jell here live on a Tuesday. Got to get our days right
On
here
a
coming out of the
Tuesday.
holiday weekend here. Going to kick the show off as usual with our question
Okay,
of the
wait, hold on. By the way, we only got we work how many days out of the year? Whatever, 5 times what is that?
52.
Yeah, quick
Roughly.
math, 260 minus whatever holidays you get. We get 1 day for Labor Day. I mean, come on. Let's make this a biannual or a what is it biannual twice a year, or is that once every other year? I think it's twice a year,
I think
right?
that's twice a year. That
Yeah, let's at least throw another Labor Day in for the parents right when school ends. Let's have 2 Labor Days, when school ends and when school starts. Come on now. Pick it up. Come on, Biden. Come on, Biden.
But
you get lucky because you work for the federal government. Well, or you get federal. You don't work for the federal government, but you get federal holidays.
Sure do.
Lucky son of a gun.
Question of the day.
I just dropped. Lucky son of a gun. That southern accent is still in the voice a little bit.
Yes, if you want to check that out, check out our podcast from yesterday. Pretty entertaining. Are you a pumpkin spice, pumpkin beer guy, Joe?
Not at all.
Not anything.
I will have like I will definitely always have a pumpkin spice beer, like one when pumpkin spice season is around, or maybe one pumpkin spice coffee, but it's not a regular on the shopping list.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have coffee here and there. It's not my go-to per se at all. I don't look forward to the season, I guess, but if I see it on the shelf, I usually grab one little package of it and have
little sixer or something.
Little sixer, yeah. But
there was I
like the lagers, not the heavy ones. If it's like really high percentage of it, I'm not usually a huge fan of it. Just more like the pumpkin lager, just a little pumpkin flavoring to it, but that's about it.
Yeah, Lakefront, back when I was in college at UW Milwaukee, Lakefront Brewery in Milwaukee had a very good, I think it was a pumpkin, I think it was a lager, and pretty light, easy drinking, just a lot of pumpkin in it, very pumpkin spicy, and so you can only have so many of those. But in general, I know you're a fan of pumpkin pie, if I remember correct.
Yeah, I'll eat a pumpkin pie here. A lot of whipped cream on it.
See, like I'm not even a big pumpkin pie guy, so pumpkin just doesn't do it. Pumpkin pie filling, just the 100% pumpkin, is great for my dog Sonny when his stomach is not feeling well, though. For any of you dog owners, if you don't know that trick, definitely worth always having a can of 100% pumpkin puree. Great, definitely a great remedy for any stomach issues with your pup.
Now you know. Great fact there for all the dog owners out there. We can be found at Dead Arm Sports, Twitter, Instagram. Check us out on Facebook at Dead Arm Sports. Got us on YouTube as well, so make sure you subscribe and click.
Fires roaring, Ricky.
Know when episodes go live there. Got Jill's Fire, so make sure you check it out on our YouTube page. Again, click that bell, and that way you know when our live episodes drop, and they'll always be up the day after we record as well. Did create a TikTok page over the weekend as well, so follow us on there. Get some little stories. I'm not as familiar with TikTok. What do they call them? Clips.
They're just 30 to minute long clips. What I've been doing is just putting in just clips of the show, and then referring any viewer to go to our refer to our link tree on our profile. If you go use that link tree, copy and paste that link tree into your browser, you'll see all of our stuff. So you'll see all of our podcasts, whether that's Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, Google Pods. You'll find our YouTube page on that link tree. You'll find our Facebook, our Instagram, and our Twitter within that link tree. And you'll also find if you wanted to go the long route, be linked back to our TikTok page. So all that is available in our bio on our TikTok page to find all of our content. But yeah, they're just what I've been doing is just some short clips of kind of a preview of what you'll listen to on our page or within our podcast. And hopefully for some of the people that may not already be listeners, dedicated loyalists to our show, they may get a taste of that, of a clip from our show, a 40-second clip of the show. Hey, I like what they have to offer. And then, from there, take that to actually listening to the full show. So that's, so we just started this up right now, and I'll be posting clips on there on the regular. So keep an eye out, and you can just find us if you are a TikTok member. Just search at Dead Arm Sports. You'll find our page there. Again, not a whole lot of content on there right now. Page just got started, but we will be we'll be continuously adding to that as we continue to move on.
You want to follow Gel on his socials? He can be found at DasJel. That's at DasJel. I can be found at DasJPEC. That's at DasJPEC. Give us a follow there. Ask us any questions you want to any of our socials, and we'll hit you back. And again, if you're watching live, ask us questions, monitoring that chat, so you can go ahead and fire away. All right, Gel, week 1 of college football is in the books. We are on to week 2. We'll get that preview a little bit later in the week, but we are here to recap this week. So had quite a few fun games to tune into. 5 days worth of college football starting on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday,
Monday. So 5 days.
So
we got 5 days. Should be the best
awesome
weekend of college football of all time. I mean, every year it should be.
Should be, yeah. We'll kick it off with one of the most dominating performances of the weekend, and that was Stetson Bennett and the Georgia Bulldogs just absolutely throttling Oregon Ducks. I mean, that game wasn't even close. I believe you had texted me, Gel, and said that Oregon looked like an FCS team. I mean, Stetson Bennett just having a field day, 25-31, 368 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. That Georgia defense didn't even look like they had lost anybody to the NFL draft this last year. Just an absolute dominating performance in Atlanta.
Yeah, I mean, what more needs to be said? A 49-3 win against the Oregon Ducks, who they came in the season as the AP number 11 ranked team. Now, obviously, these AP rankings are just projections. They're not based off anything outside of recruiting rankings and previous performances, but it seems like Georgia did not fall off one bit from their national championship team. Stetson Bennett, you mentioned those stats, 368 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 being a rushing touchdown, 80% completion percentage. I know I mentioned in the preseason, the question with the Bulldogs was, or I guess I should say last season, the question with the Bulldogs was, can they win this despite the limited ability of Stetson Bennett? Now, after this performance, do you have to say Georgia is now being led 100% by Stetson Bennett, and he can lead this team? You're going to have the combination of that dominant Georgia defense along with Stetson Bennett being a dominant quarterback. Do you think Bennett can, previously being a lower end recruit, do you think that he can, going forward, continue to be as dominant as he was this past week and also in the playoff last year?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I don't think there's any question about it with this performance. Again, like you mentioned, Oregon was coming in the number 11 team in the country, and just to put up a performance like they did there was just absolutely insane. Granted, he lost Jermaine Burton over to Alabama, but didn't seem to really set him back at all.
That's the point, is like, it didn't even matter.
No, didn't matter. Kendall Milton, McIntosh, both those guys were pretty decent on the ground. I mean, McIntosh put up 9 catches for 117 yards coming out of the backfield there. So got a nice run game there to help balance out the passing attack. And no, I don't. We'll see. I mean, again, Oregon, the Pac-12 is not known at all for defense. We'll see what happens once we get into SEC play, where you're getting some a little bit more ferocious defenses there. But you thought that Oregon would at least have a little bit of an advantage there with Dan Lanning leaving Georgia. He was their defensive coordinator,
DC, yeah.
Went up against that offense how many times with just in practices and knew that team inside and out. And I mean, it didn't even matter. I mean, they couldn't do anything outside of a field goal.
Do you think that there's a chance, let's say Stetson Bennett continues to put up these kind of numbers? The new AP poll came out today and has Georgia as the number 2 team in the country. I think that's blasphemous. I think they should be the number 1 team, the way that they just absolutely manhandled Oregon. But ultimately, getting back to my question, do you think that if Bennett continues to look this good, could he have a similar meteoric rise that Joe Burrow did, where Burrow went from transferred from Ohio State, had a pretty mediocre junior season, and then senior season set all sorts of all-time NCAA records, 60 touchdown passes, however many damn yards he threw for, like all-time stuff. Do you think Stetson Bennett could, and I'm not projecting that he's going to put up a Joe Burrow type season, but if he were to, could you see that type of meteoric rise where Burrow was looked at as like a 5th, 6th, 7th round undrafted free agent quarterback before his final season in college, and then ended up going as a number 1 pick?
Yeah, I mean, why not? I mean, like you said, Joe Burrow came out of nowhere, and Stetson Bennett right now already has a national championship under his belt. So I don't see why he couldn't. It's obviously his stock is going to just keep rising. Again, I want to see this happen continuously once SEC play rolls around. I believe they have another cupcake game this weekend against somebody else. But again, Oregon not typically known for their defense in the past, and Pac-12 usually they're got the old air raid West Coast offense putting up tons of points and not playing defense. So I think that definitely helps out some, but again, why not? I don't think Georgia's offense necessarily has all of the weapons that Joe Burrow had at LSU. There's level, certainly
not Justin Jefferson being a number 2 receiver on that offense behind Jamar Chase, and no CEH as well, but and no Randy Moss's kid either on for Georgia, but
no, but I mean, Stetson, he keeps up these numbers. He'll be in the old talks to head to New York City a little later on in the season. That's for sure.
No doubt. I want to stick in the ACC or the SEC, sorry. And I want to jump over to the Gators. Florida looked like they just, they played oh my God. They played top 10 team in Utah, number 7 overall Utah. And it really looked like they made the right decision in canning Dan Mullen. I don't know. I mean, it's Bill Napier's first game as that Florida head coach, but you saw an immediate difference in Anthony Richardson as a quarterback, in that overall team's play. It was at the Swamp, Utah, but Utah was, I mean, shit, we were both super high on Utah. You had them in your prediction to be a college football playoff team. And I still think if they ride the ship, they still have a chance to make it there. So I'm certainly not writing off the Utes. I still think that their team is extremely solid, but I want to focus more on Florida and what the Gators were able to do. Anthony Richardson, we all knew that he was extremely talented going into this game, going into this season. He showed it last year. He showed everything last year, but I don't know, man. All I can say is wow with him. Wow. I don't know. He just looked more in command. His release looked a little bit smoother, not so just, yes, he did rely on his legs at times when he needed to, but last year there's certainly been a development with Anthony Richardson where last year he would, if he was going to run, he was going to run. This year, we've seen him escape out of the pocket, and then instead of just diving or, just going to say, okay, I'm going to run. No, he'll escape the pocket, and he was ready to throw. That's just a gigantic step that Anthony Richardson has taken as the quarterback of Florida. And you got to be obviously incredibly encouraged if you are a Gator fan. And if he keeps playing like this, he's gonna find himself at the, within the top 10 of an NFL draft if he keeps playing like this, because I just could not believe the improvement that I saw out of Anthony Richardson. And I think that from what I saw from that performance, has to absolutely be on the Heisman radar.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, you'd still like to see a little bit more from him from passing. I mean, I think he had 168 yards, no touchdowns, but 3 rushing touchdowns on the ground. That's a heck of a performance.
That's what I'm saying.
Doing what the defense
like he was still. It's not like he was still running extremely efficiently, but there were times, especially late in the game, that when he escaped, he wasn't just necessarily trying to get 8 yards on the ground. He was looking downfield and making throws downfield. And I thought it was extremely impressive.
Yeah, I mean, it was a huge win. And again, Billy Napier coming in, they look like a totally different team than the year last year with Dan Mullen. And Dan Mullen had teams that had tons of talent on them, just couldn't really do much with them. Again, like you said, this isn't a huge knock on Utah. We knew it was going to be a tough test for them. And if they run the table in the Pac-12, there's no reason they can't get back into the college playoff or consideration there. But no, it'll be interesting. Florida, people weren't really sure. Like you said, Anthony Richardson was pretty touted and on the NFL draft radar for first round quarterback. And so far, so good if you're a Gator fan.
Gotta also say Dan Mullen is pretty legit in that ESPN halftime show. Yeah. I thought he was significantly better than Bob Stoops ever was. Not taking shots at Stoops, but I thought Dan Mullen was fire.
Yes. Absolutely. Moving over to another game that was very highly anticipated, like the Florida-Utah game, was the Ohio State-Notre Dame game. It was in that night slot, and it's kind of a bit to digest here with this one. Ohio State ends up taking away the victory here at the Horseshoe here, but kind of a lackluster performance to say. I mean, Notre Dame was leading the game for a good chunk of time. Ohio State's offense wasn't really clicking. Is this something that you're concerned about Ohio State's offense moving forward? They're typically a slow starting team. Their offense usually isn't clicking right away. So I don't really take a ton from that. And the other aspect of that, do you think Notre Dame's defense is legit, where they were just able to shut down Ohio State, where Notre Dame might not be as bad as we had originally thought that they might be this year? Obviously, their offense struggled to move the ball outside of 10 points there. But what are your takeaways from this one?
Yeah, I mean, first takeaways are they are who we thought they were. I mean, we had said before this game that Ohio State historically, especially with CJ Stroud, we referenced last year's opener against the Gophers, and they started off really slow. We thought that I certainly thought that they were going to lose that game. If Ibrahim,
they probably would have if he wouldn't have gotten hurt.
If Ibrahim didn't get hurt, then Ohio State last year probably starts that season off 0-1 because that offense, for some reason, I don't know if Stroud just needs to get into a rhythm, or Ryan Day needs to get into a rhythm, or they all just need. There's plenty talent on that team. Ryan Day's an amazing recruiter. There's no excuse for Ohio State to start off as slow as they did, but they have the last 2 years. And so I guess I'm not necessarily shocked by the result, but I have to say I'm probably more impressed than anything by that Ohio State defense getting a shutout in the second half.
Yeah.
Where it looked like Notre Dame had a really, I think they were down. I think Ohio State was down at halftime, and Notre Dame looked like they had a really legit shot at taking this game. I have to be extremely impressed with that Ohio State defense, which is something that I didn't expect. I mean, Ohio State's defense, the last time they were super legit was maybe with the Bosa brothers. So it's been a few years, and really it's been the offense that's carried them. If Ohio State's offense can get their shit together and they can maintain this defense, it's going to be, I mean, we already knew it was pretty much a 3-team race at the top between Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State. But if Ohio State can get their offense together and their defense can maintain, I don't see how they can't at least make that title game.
Yeah, no, I think after this weekend, it's pretty clear that the top 3 teams in the country are those teams: Alabama, Georgia, and Ohio State, even though their offense did struggle there. Again, like we said, their offense is historically slow starting. So I think they'll get in stride, probably just in time to play the Badgers at the end of the month. And we'll see a trouncing there, but we'll preview that one, talk that one at the end of the month.
We'll get there when we get there, right?
Yes. Speaking of trouncing, I wanted to talk about USC and Texas here. And USC will start their dominant win there. Had 2 pick sixes returned for touchdowns. Three. That's right. 3 of them. And the Caleb Williams to Jordan Addison connection looked phenomenal. Addison had 2 touchdowns in that one. So looking in stride there for the 2 transfers into USC. So what did you think of USC's performance?
No, I mean, just to start off, I don't make anything out of those pick sixes. They're playing Rice. No. So that obviously that final score looks a little janky because of those pick sixes. But ultimately, what's impressive is it looks like Lincoln Riley has already kind of fixed that offense in one offseason, along with obviously Caleb Williams coming over, the leading rusher in the Pac-12 last year out of Oregon, transferring over. Jordan Addison, Blitnikoff Award winner from last year, coming over. So, it's an absolutely loaded offense. We'll see how they do later on in the year when they have to face an actual offense and see how that defense holds up. We'll see how it goes when that offensive line also has to face a legit defense, because offensive line, I mean, they're loaded at skill position players, but that offensive line is still, it hasn't been tested yet. So I'm waiting to see I'm in a wait and see approach with USC, but good golly, Miss Molly, it sure looks like Lincoln Riley has at least transformed that offense. The combo of him and Caleb Williams has transformed that offense into exactly what he ran at Oklahoma, which is extremely dynamic, really fun to watch. Spread, get your skill position guys in the right position, and let's go. But I don't know, man. It hurts me. It hurts me that Jackson Dart, Keaton Slovis, JT Daniels, none of them got Lincoln. They all had to be subjected to Clay Helton. God, any of those guys would have been with Lincoln Riley. They're probably top. They're probably amongst, somewhere up there in the top of the charts for QBs to be drafted. So little bit of a heart wrencher for me on those 3 guys. But no, I mean, if you're a USC fan, gotta love what Lincoln Riley, the changes that he's already made, especially offensively.
And if you're a fan of Texas, you're happy with the start that they had. Quinn Ewers off to a little bit of a slow start in this one, but ended up with a pretty solid game there. Had, I believe when I first looked at it, I was watching the Ohio State game or watching the other game during the.
But you weren't watching UL Monroe Warhawks?
No, I was not, Jill. I know you were tuned into that game with your upset special pick last week, but no, I saw yours was like 0 for 2 with an interception. I was like, ooh, this is a hot start, but ended up turning it around, and you'd expect that against UL Monroe. But obviously, I have a tough test coming up this next week with Bama coming into town, but at least you get off to a hot start there and get the offense hopefully going there.
Yeah, my money did not cash on UL Monroe plus 37.5. I missed the mark by only 5 points. They lost 52-10. So if they could have scored one more touchdown, I would have at least cashed in my actual bets. Again, this is for entertainment purposes only. But this is that was a little bit depressing. I got one follow up on Quinn Ewers. And that is, does that guy not have a freaking parking spot on game day? He got his car towed during the game.
He apparently put the wrong parking pass in the window. So apparently the IQ isn't.
I mean, look at the mullet.
I don't know.
Like, come on. I mean, I know our podcast partner Crit is rocking the mullet, but so I'm not trying to shit on all mullets, but Tiger King over there, man, get your parking passes right. Let's go.
Right. How do you think that tow truck driver felt when he realized that was Quinn Ewers' truck, their car that he towed too?
Probably felt pretty cool because I bet he got inside that. I bet it was like, oh shit, I get to tow a Porsche. That ain't too bad. Right. He's like, I'm a high roller tow truck driver now.
Yes. Being the Badger fans we are, have to talk about the Badgers' performance this last weekend against Illinois State. Braylon Allen, fantastic game, had a 96-yard touchdown run, breaking James White's previous mark there. And Graham Mertz doing Graham Mertz typical things, starting off the season with an okay game to give us hope. But his arm strength looked pretty good. He was hitting receivers in stride. I know it was Illinois State, but his accuracy seemed like it was a lot better, night and day difference from last year. Obviously, small sample size there, threw 16 passes, completed 14 of them for a touchdown there. But got to be happy at least right now with what you're seeing. It does look like a little bit of a different quarterback from previous Graham Mertz the last couple seasons at least.
Yeah, I think that so he started off last season as well. I think his first game, maybe he started out the season like 18 for 19 in his first game, something like that, and almost set a Badger record for most completions in a game. I think he tied it for most completions without an incompletion, some goofy stat like that. But no, I mean, but eye test wise, he looked like the whip on his throws were just different. It's hard. Eye test is something hard for me to explain over a pod necessarily, but it just looked different. It looked significantly better. It looked quicker. He looked a lot more decisive. You could see an absolute difference between, just there didn't seem to be much indecision. And if Mertz can go out there and he was looking off defenders, and again, we're playing Illinois State. It's not like the Badgers were facing a Michigan defense, a Penn State defense. So there's a significant difference in athletes between the two teams, but so it's a lot easier to be decisive when you're facing lower level of competition, but it was just encouraging to watch. And, I guess I noticed this throughout all of the games that I watched. These quarterbacks are freaking good, man. Yeah. All across the country. I mean, Jaden Daniels was, he was revered as somebody that could end up making the NFL. And his stock just completely dropped. I watched that LSU game against Florida State, and he looked extremely dynamic. Even when I was watching, shout out to Big Rick here, when I was watching the Oregon State Beaver game,
Chance Nolan,
dude, he legitimately looks the part. It's just amazing over shit. Back when I was in college a decade ago, And the quarterback play from 10 years ago versus what it is now is there's just such a massive difference. I mean, who was the lefty Badger quarterback that had about the loopiest, weakest arm that you could ever find? Alex Hornibrook. Like, look at the difference between his arm versus pretty much any current FBS school. I mean, there's such a massive difference. So I'm just like, I'm incredibly impressed by quarterback play throughout the country, and not everybody lives up to the hype, but with how developed everybody is by the time they come into college ball, it makes it a little bit scary when you go into college and you're regarded as a 5-star recruit, but you may have a guy backing you up that's a 4-star recruit, but he may have the exact same whip, the exact same training that you had. And now you gotta watch your toes, because that guy may end up being better than you. And we've seen that. We might be looking at that right now at Clemson, where DJ Ukulele was looked at as the number one quarterback in his high school class. Kate Klubnik comes in at the end of the game and looked a lot sharper. I mean, quicker release, throwing on the run, really smooth, just like, this is the kind of stuff that now, if you feel like you're comfortable because you were given a 5-star grade as a quarterback from 24/7 or from ESPN or from Rivals, better check yourself, because there's probably going to be somebody else waiting in the wings that's ready to take your job.
Yeah, especially at some of those higher end programs. I mean, they're not sitting around waiting for you to develop for 3 years to make one run. They're wanting to win now, and I don't blame them. I mean, that's the goal. You want to just keep retooling and be the best team you can be, and bringing in all those recruits. So it makes sense.
I've brought up this Clemson example in the past, but Kelly Bryant was very solid for Clemson. Trevor Lawrence takes over. They become, a 3-year. Yeah, Kelly Bryant's out. He transfers to Mizzou, and Clemson becomes, a 2-3 year championship contender. Won titles there. So just because you're a 5-star recruit, especially at quarterback, nothing's guaranteed. Mertz, you came in in that class, was graded as the number 1 pro style quarterback in the country. I'm looking at Deacon Hill as his backup, and I'm like, that guy's got some mad arm talent too. So as much as I'm praising Mertz now, that doesn't mean he can feel comfortable at all, because Deacon Hill's got a hell of a cannon as a backup. Yeah, he's a freshman, and knowing Paul Christ, he's not going to be aggressive and throw Hill in there. But just overall, I mean, quarterback play right now is at an all-time high athletically, with all the camps, with all the resources that all these incoming high school quarterbacks have, all the training that they have had. Don't get comfortable if you're a quarterback.
These quarterbacks are slowly going to start trickling into the NFL, and we've seen these quarterbacks take huge leaps there. And we're going to move into our NFL portion of the program today. Going to give you a little prediction action here. So Jill and I are going to go through and talk about each division in both leagues, talk about AFC East, North, South, West, same with the NFC. We're going to give you our division winners along with 3 wild card teams, give you our Super Bowl pick, and then we're going to go through and talk about some of the NFL awards, going to do the MVP and the 2 Rookie of the Year positions as well. So yeah, we'll just kind of start off with the AFC, Jill, and why don't you go through each division here and let us know who you have winning the division, and I'll do the same, and then we'll get into the wild card. So who do you? We'll kick it off with the East. Who you got winning the East?
So right now, Vegas favorite is the Bills at -260. Those are the biggest odds you're going to find across all of football. As the easiest. Basically given the easiest path by Vegas to win their division. I mean, I don't really have I'm looking at the rest of that division. I don't have a choice. I have to go Bills. There's not much to offer out there.
I've got the Bills as well. If there was a team that you think, if you had to pick one other team in that division that maybe could challenge them, is it the Dolphins? Would you give the edge to the Pats?
It'd be Miami.
That's right.
I think that's, I like Mike McDaniel coming from that Shanahan offense. So we've seen both Mike and Kyle Shanahan's offenses work wherever they've coached, whether that's Mike in Washington, Denver as a head coach, whether that's Kyle working as an offensive coordinator or in some fashion with Washington, Atlanta, now head coach at San Fran. I mean, that Washington offense works. That moving over now into Miami. I think that Mike McDaniel, the reason that he wanted Tyreek Hill is because he's thinking, okay, I can use Hill in a Deebo Samuel type of role. And we saw how effective Deebo was in that kind of, I'm not saying kind of hybrid role, wide receiver, running back hybrid role. I'm not saying Tyreek Hill is going to get the amount of touches, especially running, directly into the line that Deebo was doing last year, but I think that Tyreek is going to be used in a number of different ways, similar to how Deebo was used in San Fran last year. So I really like the offensive potential for Miami. That's why they'd be my number 2, I guess, in that division.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I've got Buffalo winning the East. Moving into the North, this one's a little bit more of a toss up for me, but ultimately, I don't think the Super Bowl hangover is going to hurt the Cincinnati Bengals at all. I think they're going to come back. That offense is going to be firing on all cylinders again. Got another year with the big three and Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, Joe Mixon. Heck, you could even say the big four with T. Higgins in there as well. So that offense is going to be firing on all cylinders. Baltimore is going to give them a run. If Deshaun Watson had a full season, maybe, but I think he's ultimately going to be very, very rusty for the most part. Don't really have a lot of faith in Cleveland, even if he would have been there. But ultimately, I've got Cincinnati taking home the crown in the North again.
We're on to Cincinnati.
Yes.
Yeah, what's shocking about this is, okay, so there's always at least one, if not two, worst to firsts in the division. And last year, 100% injury caused, the Ravens finished in last in the AFC North last year. I'm going to take the betting favorite. It's right now, betting favorite is the Ravens at plus 105. I'm going to pick also them to be a worst of first team because, like I said, there's always at least one. And I love Cincinnati. I love them a ton. I think that they're definitely going to be there as a wild card team. They're going to, or at least make the playoffs, but I think that, there's always one worst to first team, and I'm going to go with Baltimore here as my one worst to first. And I don't know. Lamar's out here. He's ready to get that payday. I think he's going to just put on an absolute show this year and prove to everybody why he needs that $48 million, 48, 5 years, 250 guaranteed. I think that math doesn't add up quite there, but 200 million guaranteed. And I think that's what's coming for Lamar. He's going to show it this year. I gotta like the Ravens here. They also killed it in the draft. So I really like the future. And David Ajabo, as we mentioned in a previous episode, he'll be there, hopefully available by the end of the year.
Tennessee Titans in the South have been the kings of the division the last couple of years. Do you see them getting dethroned this year? Or do you have Tennessee as finishing atop the division?
No, I do not, sir. Colts are a minus 165 favorite to win this division, and I got to go Indy here. I think a sneaky bet could be Jacksonville.
Ooh.
You could get some really nice money on them. I don't have the balls to actually pull the trigger on Jacksonville
He's
yet.
got no balls, Cotton.
Pull the fucking trigger, boy. But but because I do like Jacksonville, I can actually see Jacksonville finishing second in that division this year. I think Tennessee takes a pretty tremendous step back. We saw how the Colts dealt with their quarterback situation and how Carson Wentz just was not getting it done. They said, F it, move off of Carson. We're going to bring in somebody else. Tennessee, we saw how Tannehill didn't get it done, throwing 3 picks to Cincinnati. And they said, we're going to roll with him. They didn't do anything to address that position. They are down arguably their second best player in A.J. Brown. He's no longer there. And so what are they now? They're just kind of like a okay ground and pound team with an average defense, not a whole lot of confidence, I guess. I just don't see them being necessarily extremely fired up about their team this year, the way that maybe if they had made a quarterback change, maybe they would have. And maybe we see by week 12, they're like, Tannehill ain't getting it done. Let's bring in Malik. Maybe not that late, maybe even week 8, maybe week 9. After their bye, they throw in Malik Willis. I just don't see Tennessee being a very motivated team this year. I'm going to go Indy. I think the Jags can be a sneaky team to potentially to get up there into second place in the division, though.
Yeah, I'm right there with you in regards to Tennessee. I think they're going to take a huge step back this year and miss the playoffs entirely. I just, like you said, their offense, losing A.J. Brown, that was a huge piece of their offense. Yeah, they drafted Treylon Burks. We talked about him last week and being a potential disappointment there. Has had some asthma issues, some injury issues in camp so far. So I don't expect him to make as big of an impact as everyone had thought he would, and filling in with A.J. Brown when they drafted him first round of the draft. But Derrick Henry's got hurt last year, was out a good chunk of that. We'll see what his health looks like going into a full season this year. And if they get down in games, Derrick Henry's not somebody that can bring you back. I mean, running the ball eats up a ton of time on the clock, and you need to have a good passing game. And like you said, Tannehill looked terrible in that playoff game, and they didn't really do much to help out the offense at all this offseason. Defense, like you said, will be okay, but ultimately, I think Indianapolis bringing Matt Ryan in will be just enough to get over the hump, be a better quarterback play than you got out of Carson Wentz last year. So Indy with Jonathan Taylor got a great run game, decent passing game there with Matt Ryan coming over, Pittman, Alec Pierce there, big Mo Alley Cox, and Indy's got a pretty decent defense too. They're no scrub there either. So I think this is Indy's division. I think they're going to win it comfortably.
For you viewers out there that are watching these Colts games, if you hear Shaquille Leonard, just know that Darius changed his name over the offseason to Shaquille. So just a heads up. Who the hell is Shaquille Leonard? Is he a rookie? No, it's just Darius.
Our last division here, the AFC West, arguably the most exciting division going into this season. And you could pretty much list off any of the 4 teams here for division winner, and I wouldn't really complain about it at all. My pick's going to be the LA Chargers. I think they're finally going to get over the hump. Brought in Khalil Mack from Chicago to help out with that defense.
Somehow, by the way, that Khalil Mack pickup has just like
gone completely
under
unnoticed.
the radar.
Yeah.
Oh, it's like you're picking up just like a washed up Clay Matthews. Like, no, Khalil Mack was still an impact player for Chicago last year.
Yep. And I mean, line him up outside opposite Bosa. That's going to be a very scary front four there. And you got Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler there on the offensive side of the football to help out Justin Herbert. So I think they're going to be firing on all cylinders. It's going to come down to probably the final week of the season, but I think ultimately the Chargers will be the divisional winners.
Yeah, I mean, this is absolutely the most competitive division in football. Kansas City right now is the projected has the highest odds to win the division at +155. 155, but you're not even getting, those aren't even good odds. Chargers plus 190. So, and Denver plus 250, Vegas plus 475. So really not good odds if you want to bet on a division winner here. It's probably not worth your money to take a risk here because KC, LA, Denver, and even the Chargers, those odds are so close together. It's probably not worth putting any money down on that division winner, given that there isn't even really a true minus money favorite. So hopefully if you're a gambler, you follow me on that language. I'm going to go with Kansas City as my pick. They are the favorite. I think Mahomes, it seems like he's just really locked in this season. I've talked before about Rodgers losing Devontae. Aaron Rodgers losing Devontae Adams. Rodgers feels a little bit more locked in this offseason than we've seen out of him in past off seasons. I feel like we're seeing the same thing out of Patrick Mahomes, where he's really taken from, reports is that he's really taken a step up in terms of his leadership role. He knows that he's the man. He knows that it's his team. He knows that it's, he doesn't want to hear any excuses when, it's, oh, they lost Tyreek Hill. Really? They lost Tyreek Hill, and that's why the Chiefs are going to fall off? Mahomes ain't having none of that. They lost Tyrann Mathieu, yeah, but dude, that guy's been in the league for like 10 years. I mean, how long can a safety really last in this league? So they had a couple nice draft picks. Sky Moore, they took a pass rusher as well, pretty high. And I don't have their draft in front of me, but that looks really good. I think Kansas City's here too. I think Mahomes is a little bit more motivated to really shove it at everybody that's saying that, such as yourself, the Chargers could end up taking the division, such as my boy Colin Cowherd that thinks that the Bucking Broncos can take the division. So I'm all in on KC this season. I think they're taking that division and maybe be a 13-14.
And why don't you go ahead, Jill? Just run through your 3 wildcard teams quick. I'll give mine, and we'll jump over to the NFC side.
Yeah, like I mentioned, Cincinnati, I'm very high on them. I think they're definitely going to make it. I also mentioned on a previous episode, I think the Dolphins are here to stay. I really like Mike McDaniels, what he's done. And then the addition of Tyreek Hill, they've made additional defensive and offensive positions, really shored up that offensive line. I think that's going to be huge for Tua. And then I guess my second AFC West team, the Chargers are out. I got your Raiders. Maybe another week 17 tiebreaker game. But no, I love the Raiders this year. I think that they end up being a wild card team, but so I got to go Cincinnati, Vegas, Miami.
All right. I, like you, have both of those AFC North teams we talked about making the playoffs. Since he's winning the division, I have Baltimore getting in as a wild card. And then again, Chargers, Kansas City Chiefs, I think are going to come down to the wire for the division, have Kansas City taking a wild card spot. And I've got my third AFC West team making it into the playoffs this year, and that is the aforementioned Colin Cowherd's Denver Broncos making it in. So I like that offense this year. I think Russ is going to be re-motivated coming over, has a solid defense like he had in Seattle for all of those playoff years, has a fantastic offense that he's working with, great wide receivers. I think you're going to see a huge bump up from Javonte Williams this year in the run game, and Denver's tough to beat in some of those cold weather games when it gets into December up in that mile high in that altitude. And I think they're going to take advantage of it and end up getting into that wild card spot. So my 3 wild card teams are going to be Kansas City, Denver, and Baltimore.
Well, so what's always tricky when you're playing in Denver is that altitude. Their first 4 games at home are against Houston, who is about as low of an altitude team as you can get. The Niners, also right on the bay. The Colts, I mean, Indy, I don't even know what their altitude looks like. New York Jets, they're right on the ocean basically too. So you could absolutely see within those first 4 home games with that mile high altitude, that could play a legitimate factor. Broncos generally have an awesome September/early October record. So that may be 3-4 wins right off the bat for Denver just because of that.
Yeah, no, for sure. Moving over to the NFC East side, I'll go ahead and kick things off here, Gel. For me, it's a 2-team race between the Dallas Cowboys, Philadelphia Eagles, and ultimately, I think Jalen Hurts is going to be able to lead Philly to the division title. I think you're going to see a bump up from that Philly defense. You get to play the Giants twice, get to play Washington twice, which, again, we had mentioned yesterday or last week that Chase is out for Washington, so the defense isn't as scary as it has been at least last year, the year before. But ultimately, I think Jalen Hurts is going to take a step forward in that offense, get AJ Brown over, and they're going to be more dynamic, be able to pass the ball downfield to go along with Jalen Hurts' rushing. I think Philly's going to sneak by Dallas for that title.
For you YouTube viewers, you can probably see me smiling ear to ear here. May 10th, I bet Philly to win the division at plus 175. I also bet them to win the division at plus 190. Both at that time, they were both figuring to finish second to Dallas. Now, the Eagles are the favorite to win the division at plus 105. I'm ready to fucking make some money here. Let's go. Eagles fly. Eagles fly.
Love it.
I'm freaking pumped, man. I'm ready to cash. That's all I got. You know my pick.
Let's jump over to the North. Who you got as Kings of the North?
I mean, favorite right now is Green Bay minus 200. But my pick is the Vikings at plus 110. That's also one of those bets that I made back in May on the Vikings winning the division. Saw a little bit of an increase in those odds. They were at plus 240 when I bet them. Now Minnesota plus 210. I'm just going to keep humble bragging here, assuming I win all these bets. But yeah, I mean, I really like what Minnesota has put together. Kevin O'Connell, I think, is the right man for the job. Mean old Mike Zimmer he's gone. The guy that doesn't hand out true true Halloween candy. He's gone, and I think that Minnesota is going to really respond to the presence of Kevin O'Connell. On the Green Bay side, I think I like them now more than I did during the offseason, just because I have seen, as a Packer fan, an emergence of Romeo Doubs. I think there is going to be a philosophical change offensively and making it more focused on an Aaron Jones, AJ Dillon type of offense. So I think you will see a drop off in Aaron Rodgers' performance, but Romeo Doubs is going to come out. I think he's going to shine as probably going to end up being Green Bay's number 1 by season's end. Alan Lazard is already starting off the year as kind of iffy for week 1. Who else are you going to throw in there as your wide receiver 1? It's going to have to be Romeo Doubs based on this offseason's performance.
Sammy Watkins.
But Sammy, oh, please don't. Just cut him. Just cut him. No, but I really like what Minnesota's doing, and that's my pick for the NFC North.
Yeah, I think ultimately, spoiler, I've got Green Bay as one of my wild card teams, but I think it's the Vikings that take home the division. I think Green Bay is going to be fine on offense eventually, but I think it's going to be a little bit of a slow start, and that slow start may cost them a couple games early on in the season that ultimately I think lead to the demise and the Vikings ending up taking home the crown in the North Division. Minnesota, let's face it, Kevin O'Connell coming over is going to have that offense fired up. Mike Zimmer, known as a defensive coach, so get their offense clicking. And Kirk Cousins had a great year last year. Obviously, Justin Jefferson's one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. Adam Thielen, we're still waiting for that drop off, so we'll see what ends up happening there. And we'll go ahead and see there again. Dalvin Cook is one. Hey, Sonny.
Sonny
We'll
says
see
hi.
what.
Sorry about the bald.
Going on.
Sorry about the bald forehead.
But we'll see if Dalvin Cook can stay healthy for a full season. But ultimately, I don't think that matters, and the Vikings will end up taking home the division there. Moving into the South. Again, for me, I think it's a 2-team race, and I don't know that it's much of a race. I think Tampa Bay is going to end up taking home the crown here. Tampa Tom coming back for one final go-round, it sounds like, coming out of retirement, and I think they ultimately will win the division there. I think the Saints are going to be a close second. They could be a sneaky team that could end up taking that division. Jameis has looked pretty solid in camp so far. Should have Alvin Kamara for a full season. Doesn't sound like that suspension is going to happen this year. So Saints are a team I think to watch out for, but I think ultimately Tampa's offense is going to have too much firepower and take home that division.
Yeah, Tampa right now is they're the Super Bowl favorite to make it in the NFC, and by far the biggest favorite to win their division at minus 250. So that has to be my pick. Is there any temptation though to grab Carolina at plus 800, drop 25 bones, get back to hundo? CMC stays healthy. Baker Mayfield, he's won a division before. Any temptation at all? I'm not saying I'm going to do it. I'm not going to do it. But
not
do you
really? But I mean, if you're taking a chance on a team,
if you change
probably,
your mind.
I mean, before Tom got down to the NFC South, that was a division that it seemed like for years, whoever finished in last place in that division was the division winner that following season. There was so much flip-flopping back and forth. So maybe they end up going back to that. Ultimately, we haven't seen enough out of Baker consistently for where I'd feel comfortable for throwing any money down on them to possibly win, but those are decent odds if you're going to take a chance to throw some money down on.
Like I said, you got to be ballsy to do it, but yeah. I think it could pay off. I mean, who knows what you're getting out of New Orleans? Jameis and Dennis Allen, who has a sub 300 winning percentage, not great, Bob. And then Tampa with Brady being out. I'm going to jump, but I think it's Tampa's division. I'm going to jump over to the NFC West now. LA Rams right now, they're favored to win this division, even money. So you bet 100, you win 100 if you bet on the Rams. I mean, how much is there to really say about that? The only question mark for me is how is Stafford's arm going to hold up? But they retain most of their players outside of Odell Beckham's injury. They lost. I guess they lost Von Miller, but he was a trade deadline acquisition, so
yeah,
kind of lost him. But I have 100% confidence in the Rams. I think McVay is all in. If McVay's gonna stay, I think he's gonna be all in. I'm not saying he's here for a long time, but he's here for a good time. And I'm thinking, so McVay's, as long as he's here, he's going to be balls to the walls. And I got the Rams. That's my pick to win the NFC West.
Yeah, no Super Bowl hangover for me. It's the Rams. And I think they're going to run away with that division. I think it'll be clinched for a couple of weeks prior to the end of the season. I don't really see anybody in that division competing with them. So I think it's theirs outside of a Stafford season-ending injury if something's more severe in that arm than we think and ends up coming forward part of the way through the season.
One last note that I have to make on the Rams. I bet them to win the division 4 months ago at plus 125. They're now at even odds. So I won that the odds there as well.
Attaboy.
Bet 4 months in advance, people, and you'll get good odds.
My wild card teams, I mentioned before, Green Bay. I think they're going to end up making the playoffs and get the offense rolling just in time. I've got Dallas ultimately. I think Dallas is going to be fine behind Philly. I think their offense will figure it out once Michael Gallup comes back, or maybe Jalen Tolbert takes a step forward and they've got a nice duo there with CeeDee Lamb. Their defense should be pretty solid. They were solid last year with Micah Parsons. And I've got the Saints. I got the Saints finding a way. Jameis making some noise down in New Orleans, getting that job turned over to him, coming off of the injury last year. But again, he's looked pretty solid in preseason, and I think he's got some nice offensive weapons there. Saints defense should be solid like they have been in the past as well. So those are my 3 wildcard teams.
Yeah, I'm right there with you with Green Bay and Dallas. I'm going to throw San Fran in there.
Okay.
I think that Shanahan is just too good of a coach. Trey Lance is a complete unknown. But I think if them bringing back Jimmy G, I think if they feel like at week 6, week 7, and they're like, this is not gonna work, they'll throw Jimmy G in there. So, and the other option is Trey Lance is a freaking baller. So I got San Fran. I think there's gonna be some early hiccups, but I think San Fran ends up getting it together. I trust Shanahan. I trust John Lynch. That Niners roster as a whole is full of studs. So I like the Niners to make it instead of New Orleans. But yeah, Green Bay, Dallas, San Fran.
And who do you have winning the Super Bowl? Dun, 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 dun.
Dun, 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 dun. Okay, check this one out. Rematch. Bengals, LA Rams. Okay. I know it sounds boring, but I really like both these teams. I think there's no really great team in the NFC. Why can't the Rams run it back? And on the AFC side, there's a ton of competition, but I haven't seen anything out of Buffalo to tell me that they can make the playoffs. Yeah, Josh Allen looks the part, but let's see him actually finish a game. Kansas City lost some weapons. Cincinnati, they didn't lose anybody. All they've done is make additions. I guess they lost CJ Uzoma, but they replaced him with some good tight end. Good work by your boy over here. They really shored up that offensive line, paid a lot of money on that offensive line, and paid a lot of money in that in their linebacking core that was kind of weak last year. Retained their entire secondary. I don't see any reason to be down on Cincinnati. We're on to Cincinnati. And I'm gonna go rematch here, baby. Rams Cincy.
I am also going with a rematch.
Come on.
Of week 1 of this season, Buffalo versus the LA Rams. So I've got that matchup. I just think Buffalo is going to get over the hump. I mean, that would have been a heck of a matchup last year. They were a coin flip away from winning the game against the Chiefs, one of the best games we've seen in a long time there. And I think ultimately Buffalo is just going to have too much offensive firepower there. Going to have some nice, cold, snowy home playoff games this year as well. And ultimately get into the Super Bowl. Again, the LA Rams, I think there's just too much firepower on that team, bringing a lot of guys back. And ultimately, I've got Buffalo Bills winning the Super Bowl. So congratulations, Bills fans. It's probably not going to happen now that I just said that. But we will move into the award segment of the show. We'll quickly go through this to wrap up as we're running out of time here. We're going to go through our NFL MVP, Offensive Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year. We'll go ahead and just kind of kick it off here with the NFL MVP. And I think ultimately I've got Buffalo winning the Super Bowl, and I think that's because Josh Allen has a fantastic season. I think Josh Allen's going to end up being your NFL MVP this year.
Yeah, I mean, can't really fault the logic there. I mean, he is the favorite to win the MVP. So yeah, I mean, why not go after him? I'm going to go back to kind of what I was saying about the Ravens though, and about Lamar. And I think that he's going to be he's about as motivated of a player in the league as possible, given that A, he wants to win a title, B, he wants that cash. So I'm gonna go Lamar gets his second MVP and he takes home the cake. And hopefully by then the Ravens are going to be willing to pay him, because it's not going to work out in their favor if he continues on this franchise tag after this season. Lamar Jackson, baby.
All right, for the rookie of the years, I'll go through both of mine here, kick it over to you, Gel. For offense, I think ultimately the Saints are making the playoffs, and I think it's in part to Chris Olave. I think Chris Olave is going to have a fantastic season this year down in New Orleans, and Jameis Winston is going to be a big part of that too, and I think he's going to end up being his favorite target. Chris Olave is going to be the wide receiver 1 for New Orleans this year. And ultimately, I think he's going to be the best wide receiver of this class, at least this rookie season and possibly moving forward. Defensive side of the ball, a little more of a toss up here, but I think ultimately, I think Aiden Hutchinson's going to be pumped. He's in Detroit in the state of Michigan and moving down there. And I think he's going to get Detroit fired up. I think Detroit's going to be a better team this year, maybe pull off some surprises, not make the playoffs, but be a little bit better and at least have some hope for the future there. And I think it's going to be in part because of Aiden Hutchinson.
Yeah, Hutch is that favorite defensively at plus 450. So I'm going to go a little further down the board on my defensive rookie of the year and go good old Sauce Gardner. I think we're looking at a Darrelle Revis, hopefully potentially Darrelle Revis 2.0, probably going to be a little bit more of a difference maker in the turnover category, but also going to be a very solid shutdown corner. So I like Sauce with the Jets. And then I got to piggyback off your offensive rookie of the year. Chris Olave is my guy too. Nice. I talked about him as being a potential boom or bust type of player in one of our previous episodes, but I think more likely boom on Olave. You kind of convinced me during that episode that what does Olave has everything for him that he would need to have a successful rookie season. So I like Olave and I like Sauce as my offensive rookie of the year, defensive rookie of the year.
Some solid picks as well there. We will find out as the season moves along. We can be found at Dead Arm Sports, Twitter, Instagram. Check us out on Facebook at Dead Arm Sports. Gel can be found at Das Gel. I can be found at Das JPEG. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube page. Click the bell. You'll know when our episodes drop live there. And you can go ahead and ask us questions in the chat throughout the episode, and we will answer them on our podcast for you. Middle of fantasy season right now. We've got start sits, and any fantasy questions you want, any sports questions you want, send it to any of our handles, any of our social media platforms. We are on TikTok as well at Dead Arm Sports. Make sure you subscribe there as well. Where else can they listen to us at, Jill?
Find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Google Podcasts. One additional mention there, again, that TikTok page, again, at Dead Arm Sports. We're just getting that thing started. You're going to see a ton of content up there as we continue growing that page. But also, again, YouTube. Just search Dead Arm Sports in that search bar, and should be the first thing that pops up at the top of your page. Should be our channel name. And make sure to subscribe and hit that alert bell. And we will love you forever.
All right. We appreciate everybody out there listening. If you could tell somebody you know about the podcast, help us out greatly, get you even more content. We will be back tomorrow to preview both the NCAA Week 2 and NFL Week 1. So looking forward to that. We'll, of course, have our upset special picks and the return of our Drew Locks of the Week. So bunch of fun stuff
MVP
to look forward to there. And Joe, close her out.
Welcome to the NFL Awards Show. Your winner for Podcast of the Year, Dead Arm Sports.